I'm starting this little video with a little explanation of what's been happening over recent days. Sammy Bear has not been well, and I'd almost given up on him last night. He's had a terrible come down from the steroid injection, and he's developed a very bad cold, and his immune system has been greatly weakened. I suspected as much was going to happen, you know, with the steroid injection, but in fact I didn't think it was going to be this bad. He hasn't eaten properly now for about 3 days, and he wasn't drinking, and about an hour ago I carried him, because he was on the bed in the lodge. He'd sort of curled up there and become very, well, just kind of hopeless in a way. But about an hour ago I carried him in my arms down to the little well, the little spring well in the fairy wood, and I put him down near the stream, just on the little lower bank near the stream, and he drank a lot of water. He had a really good drink, which has actually thrilled me to bits, because I know when an animal stops drinking that things are bad. But he's had a really good drink of that spring water. And what I did, I just put a little blessing on the water as it was coming down the stream, because I don't know if any of you have seen those documentaries about water and the memory of water. But of course within the Celtic tradition, water has always been very sacred. It's very sacred. Ishkababa, the water of life. So I set him down in the lodge again, just on the bed, and he actually got up off the bed and came out and climbed up here on my little egg chair. So he obviously wants to be outside. So I've put some extra woolen blankets around him, and he's gone into quite a good sleep. Now his little ears are still up, because of course he's slightly on guard in case of any predators. That's also a good sign. It means he hasn't given up. But over the past few days it's been very vexing, to say the least. So your prayers and good wishes are very welcome now at this point, and I'll do another little update tomorrow morning. I'm just hoping, and he's gone into a nice sleep. He's nice and relaxed, he's nice and calm. Because he's so relaxed and calm, I am very, very loath to bring him to the vet, because he found that quite traumatizing. He does not like going to the vet. So your prayers and good wishes are very welcome. And I'm just going to take each hour by the hour and try to be as intuitive as possible with them. But I'm thrilled he's had a drink, a very long drink. And I'm keeping Jack out here with him, because he realises, of course, that Jack is a guard, not just a guard dog for me and for the cottage, but will help protect him. He's been in this state well, 3 times before in his life that I can recall. I don't know why he gets this low. It's hard to tell. Like I've said before, he's been to the vets and had blood tests done, and they've been completely inconclusive. And well, look, I can't say more than what I've said. So, believe you me, I've done a lot of weeping over the past few days. I didn't want to say anything this morning on this morning's video because quite frankly I didn't think he was going to live, and I wanted just to push it all away. But he's come through this before, although, well, I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's not as bad or it's worse. I actually can't remember, because this is part of how my own energy works, that when I hit a patch in life that's very difficult, I deal with it in as practical a way as I can, and then I try to kind of box it up and forget it. That's how I deal with things. So, look, in the good old Irish tradition, I've made myself a good big cup of tea. My mother was a great believer in tea. I think people in Ireland are as well. You know, you have a cup of tea, that'll sort everything out. And in a way it does. It's very comforting. I think it just reminds you that life is moving. Nothing comes to a halt. So we'll go for a little dander. Got my wellies on, hence all the noise. The glup glup. It's been very wet here over the past 24 hours, I'd say. Very wet. Lots of rain. As I said this morning, very welcome. You know, it is a real blessing to be an animal lover because when you're an animal lover, I do believe what you are really is a lover of life, and it's never just plain sailing, because love isn't like that, is it? Excuse me, I've got a bit of a croak in my voice. Love isn't like that. Love is never plain sailing. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm quite happy to avoid all that. So I give all my affection and love to my family, friends who need it, and of course my pets. Where would I be without Jack? Where would I be without Sammy Bear? Gosh, there's a lot of water cascading down. Oh, there's my torch. Look, the other night I lent the torch to people who were going, oh, it's still working, that's a surprise, who were walking down the lane to their cars, you know, and just shows you now I haven't paid much attention to these things. Come on, Jack. I think we're going through the gardens for a little walk. In through the woodland sanctuary, which means I will have to put this torch down. There's a little stream, look, flowing fiercely. Very strong flow on it. Yes, I was watching a kind of a catch-up documentary on water. They've been doing a lot of investigations into water and the memory of water. Well, of course, this is something again which historically, within the tradition I come from, which of course is very much the Celtic tradition. Just put my torch down there. Historically, there was never any question about this, that water was living, and that, well, we never called it a memory, but we knew that the salmon had the memory of the water, and that the water had the memory of the salmon, because the salmon would go through incredible trials and tribulations just to get to the spawning ground where they had been born, you know? And then there's all kinds of stories in the Celtic tradition relating to water. And the magic of water. And when I dug out, when I found and dug out the little spring well down in the fairy wood, of course this is where all this water here is coming from now. It's flowing from that little well. Since the day I dug that out, this land has been healing. I personally have used the well down in the fairy wood several times when I haven't felt well, or when I felt that I needed to be revived. In fact, round about midsummer, I usually go down to that well and I step down into it and I bathe in it. And I'm convinced that it has healing powers. And during the 2010 and 2011 really hard winter, when the ground froze and the trees froze and the entire landscape froze, that little spring well, not only did it continue to flow, but everything around it was green. So in the midst of all that harshness and bleakness, the well provided life, and not just provided life for the birds, but symbolised life. It became a living symbol. Of life. I'll show you this little tree that I uncovered the other day. You know, I've been talking about clearing around this little piece of land that I've never gone into over 14 years. Well, that's what I did the other day. And I'll just take you through this little pathway that I made. It took me hours to clear it. This was part of my birthday. My birthday I spent here in the land, which is precisely what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be anywhere else. I didn't want to go out and, you know, have a fancy celebration or anything. I just wanted to spend time here in the land. So that's what I did. And I'm just taking you now to this beautiful little spot. Haven't finished clearing just yet. Here we go. It's right up against my neighbour's house. Well, that's the weekend home. My neighbour comes up at weekends in Dublin. But this is one of the old goat willows, and it's actually grown right into the barbed wire. I didn't put the barbed wire up. That's been here since there was cows on this land. But I've cleared all around it, cleared this little spot. I put a little bench down in here. Now you can see I'm just pointing up towards the trees that I've planted. I've planted this one as well. You can see it almost got blown over several times. It's just continued to grow. So this looks like a little spot that's sort of private, although it is right beside the road as well. That house across there, of course, is empty. People who own it live in England. And that's another little pine tree that I planted. And of course you can see in between, this was the original state of the land, because I haven't touched this little bit, you see. I tried to leave a small part of the land just untouched, for all kinds of reasons, too complex to go into at this point in time, but I'm going to be planting some more trees in here now. It's fascinating, isn't it? To say that this piece of land I'd never ventured onto, and I waited until my birthday after 14 years of being here. So, I'll just continue walking up this little path now. This is the path I usually come up. You can see now, just looking in, it's hard to tell that there's anything in there. Hear the water running. The water of life. I think we need to meditate on that. We need to meditate on how sacred water really is. It was for these reasons, of course, that I had my flush toilet taken out. It just didn't make sense to pollute water in any way. Little waterfall now. This is where I brought Sammy Bear. When he started to drink, from the pool just above the fall, I went right up to the spring well and just put some blessings on the water. And of course this is what people have done for millennia. We've handed over lots of that personal relationship that we've had with Mother Earth. We've handed that over to patriarchal religion. Personally, I think the strongest blessing comes from women. I used to always value the blessing of my grandmother. In fact, it was quite revered before anyone left to, go away, as it was said. You might be going away to England or going away to America or just leaving, really. The last person that you get a blessing from would be, at the very least, your mother, or if your grandmother was alive, then your grandmother. I think it's still the case, really. So, I shall just hold the space now for Sammy Bear. I think that aptly describes trying to provide a healing sanctuary. I think holding the space. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of today for Sammy Bear. And what will be, will be. Like I say, he's come through it before. I'm hoping that when he wakes up from this sleep, and I hope it'll be a nice long deep sleep for him, because he's had the spring water and now to have the sleep, that can be very healing. So I'm hoping that when he wakes up from this sleep he'll have a little bit of an appetite and he may eat something. It's alright, Sammy Bear, we're back. His little ears are up, look. So, I think what I'm going to do for this afternoon, I've got one of the Cottage maps. I'm going to bring it out here. I'm going to fix up a little temporary table, get my colouring pencils. I'm going to colour it in because of course that's very relaxing, and I really just want to put out good sound healing vibes for the little bearkin over there. So, your wishes and prayers are appreciated and indeed very valuable. Very valuable. So blessings to you all. Hey Jack? Yeah. Blessings to you all.